Welcome everybody back to the Taste of Truth. I am your host, Truth Emmerich, and on today's show we have none other than Pastor Dion Brinson, hailing all the way from Buffalo, New York, where he now resides in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Y'all please give it up for Pastor Brinson. Pastor Brinson, it is a pleasure having you on the show today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for being here, sir.
Yes,
Man,
sir.
listen, it's been a long time coming. We've been trying to do this for a while. A lot of trying to get our schedules together
Yes.
and everything, and God permitted for us to do it, so we're doing it. You know what I'm saying? Here in the wonderful North Carolina. Actually, we're in Lake, I believe it's Lake Norman.
Yeah. Beautiful out
And
here.
we out here overseeing the lake,
Yes.
relaxing, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Thank you for
man.
inviting me. It's
Oh
beautiful.
man, thank you for coming, brother. So listen, man, I got a chance to talk to you a couple of months ago, man, and kind of picked your brain a little bit, man. And I was moved because of your heart, you know what I'm saying, and knowing the type of heart that you have and the type of heart that you presented was absolutely um, beautiful, because you don't really see a lot of pastors standing in the position of pastor, you know what I'm saying, really wanting to see God's people moving and having their being and understanding, um, their purpose and their calling to the body. I want to kind of get a little background on you, though, for our listeners and for our guests, and for our family members out there that
All right.
are tuning in. If you can give us a little background, I know earlier I said you were from Buffalo,
Yes.
but if you can, where'd you grow up?
Okay. All right. Well, I'm from Buffalo, New York originally. I
Okay,
grew up in Buffalo, New York. I moved away from Buffalo probably when I was around 28 years old.
okay,
Um, Left there, moved to North Carolina for a little bit, moved to Georgia for about 10 years,
okay,
then
okay,
went back to Buffalo. And when I went back to Buffalo, where I married my wife
okay,
of 15 years now.
okay,
Um, I had a total of 8 children.
okay,
All right, and so going back and forth with that, I pastor here in Greensboro, North Carolina. At the
okay,
time, this is where the Lord has sent us. I have a bachelor's degree in biblical studies.
okay.
Um, I I've owned a construction company, and one of the things I found out in life that I'm very passionate about is teaching
Okay.
on love and relationships.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
That's a beautiful segue, because I didn't know, but you also are an author as well.
Yes.
And this is your first book,
It's my
right?
first book.
Okay.
Hmm.
All right. Um, Tell us a little bit about not so much the details in the book, but I want to know the process of you moving into you writing the book concerning relationships. Primarily, some of the things that might have happened in your own personal life that moved you towards writing this book. And I believe the book is called Infected
Infected Love.
Love, right?
Yep. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yes. Infected Love, identifying and eliminating toxic relationship killers is a big thing for me.
Okay.
And what led me to it is that everybody goes through in relationships.
Mm,
There's ups and downs. And one of the key things that causes people to go through is that they don't have enough knowledge of how to maintain a relationship.
hmm
They don't know enough about healing. They don't know enough about themselves.
Okay.
They haven't discovered enough about someone else. And because of this, you have a lot of divorces, which I've gone through enough
Okay.
in my life. So it caused me to say, you know what? I want to know what makes love really work.
Now, wait a minute, Pastor. You said
Yes.
that you went through a couple of divorces yourself?
Yes.
Okay. That's beautiful that you mentioned that, because most pastors don't mention their history. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, yeah.
So, were your divorces, were they like markers for you as you were writing the book?
I wouldn't even say that.
No? Okay.
You know, I- when you don't get the proper, say, counseling,
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in a church.
Mm.
So I was a kid wanting to be right.
Ah,
So that got me to get married,
okay.
but not going through the steps of learning what marriage is about, learning what relationship is about, what's real love.
Okay.
All I was trying to do was stay saved,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So that was
Yep.
my first reason for getting married. Okay.
Right.
So that was my first marriage. That was at 20 years old.
Okay.
All right. I got married again at 26.
Mm.
Okay. Still young man.
Mm-hmm.
Again, at the time, I'm an assistant pastor. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to, hold things down, but still not having that guidance, that knowledge
Okay.
concerning what relationship
Relationships.
really is.
Got you.
So after that second one, I was like, okay, Lord, I don't want to be looking crazy out here because I'm getting married all these times. But
Right.
each time I just never really knew exactly what I should have known going into a marriage. You're never going to know everything,
Right.
but there are some things that can help you along the way.
Okay.
And by the time I hit third marriage, which I am grateful for, my beautiful wife, Kimberly, of 15 years, that inspired me a lot. I wanted to help others. I wanted to help men out. I wanted to help different women out, because so many times we're constantly looking at someone else. But how much of it do we identify within ourselves to know, like, hey, if I just would have understood this better, I could be in a much better place. So those are the reasons why I wanted to give people something tangible to look at
Okay.
and apply to themselves. That's going to get them to look at themselves to say, hey, maybe I'm looking at things the wrong way.
Mm. Mm. And so I realized as I was actually going through your book, some of the markers that you were actually kind of wanting the reader to know is, hey, listen, if you're trying to point the finger,
Yeah.
and the finger needs to be pointed back at yourself, because oftentimes we as humans, we do like to find fault in other people, saying like, they made me do it, he made me say what he, because he did such and such. And I like the fact that you wanted the onus to be on the individual, um, who needs to really look at the fact of, hey, listen, I have some toxic traits that I need to get under control,
Mm-hmm.
because it's affecting all of my relationships.
Right. Right. Oh, and see, that's another big point. If I could say something right there,
Yeah, yeah.
people don't realize when it comes down to relationship, if you a lot of times you're messing up in one area,
Mm,
you're actually messing up in a whole lot of areas.
mm,
All right,
mm,
because your behavior is your behavior. Who you are is who you are. Some people may let you get away with it a lot more. All right, and it may not affect as much as it may be in the relationship that you're in with someone, because you go to job, they go home, you go home. But you could be having the same behaviors with the people on the job, with certain family members, with
mm.
certain friends.
Right.
But with the person that you actually live with, they got to see it every day. They got to live with it every day. So it has a much bigger effect. But it's not that you're any different with someone else. If you weren't, think about it, boyfriend and girlfriend,
Mm-hmm.
they can go through some challenges, but one going home and the other one's going home. A lot of times
Right.
that gives them time to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
But when you mad at each other in the same house
And you can't leave.
and you can't leave, then that's a different story there.
That's a big, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a definitely a different story there, which kind of segues into the question that I have for you, because when I was going through chapter one, I saw that one of your titles were, "Are you masking scars and bruises?" You said this, and I quote, "We do not realize what happens to us or when it occurs, but before we can love in a healthy manner, we must do some soul searching and honest evaluation. Otherwise, we will forge relationships that will ultimately fail because we are out of touch with our own history that affects our present."
Yeah.
I thought
Yes.
that was so profound, bro.
And that's big. That's big. What happens there is that we go through challenges in our relationships,
Mm-hmm.
but we don't take the time out to be healed.
Wow.
All right. So we won't even understand really what happened to us in a past relationship.
Mm-hmm.
We knew that we were hurt, but we don't know the depth of how we were hurt until we get into another relationship with someone else.
Okay.
And it reminds you of something that you experienced
In the past.
in the past. So that scar, because you have some scars that looks healed, but if you rub across them, you can still feel the pain in it. A deep cut could be healed, everything, but you rub your hand over it, you can still feel it. Some of us are wounded just like that.
Wow.
We look good, we smile, we laugh, but the moment that something brushes up against us the wrong way, emotionally, that scar exposes itself. That same pain, that same hurt, then no memories come back. You remember how you got that scar.
We call that being triggered.
Call it being triggered. Yes. So a lot of folk ignore healing, the proper healing for themselves, of what they really need to do in order to get themselves past it. But even when it still hurts, you still have to know how to deal with that. All right? Because all memories don't go away. All right? You don't forget everything.
No, you don't.
You know, some things happen. It'll come back fresh in your mind, but you have to know how to handle it and how to deal with it.
Well, I think to that you added also in your book about like pouring yourself out and to the point where you're thinning yourself. You focused on everybody else, what everybody else got going on, but you're not focused about where you are, you know what I'm saying, at that time in your life. And how often do you see that when you're counseling couples where they're so focused on the other individual that they are blinded by what they're.
All right. So it's a twofold in that one. All right. The first step is that someone that's hurt, that hasn't been healed, will cause you to put so much energy in them trying to get you to heal them. So they'll suck you dry from your emotional standpoint, and you're not able to function. You can't even see about yourself because you're constantly seeing about them. You're trying to not walk on eggshells. You're trying not to trigger them because they're so emotionally damaged. All right. So that's the one of the first ones there. But then the other one is you taking a look at or not taking a proper look at yourself and blaming someone else for everything that's happening to you. The reason why you're upset, the reason why you're mad, the reason why you're emotional, the reason why you have all these mood swings, these attitudes, so somebody has to deal with all of that. And what you're doing is you're putting that burden on someone else. So hurt can, when someone is not healed properly, I mean, it can flip flop that relationship in so many different ways. So the person that's in it with the hurt person is being drained because they're trying to give them all the love that they can't give them because that person is not healed. And then the person that's hurt is draining because they're putting all the things on that individual that's trying to love them. They're pulling them everything out of them. They're making them feel bad. They're taking them through the ringer, all because of the improper healing for them. We have to take our time for ourselves.
Wow.
If you don't, it's going to cause a lot of problems. A lot of problems.
Why do you think that we don't want to take the onus? What causes us from, I mean, so this is my second marriage, right? And I know that oftentimes when you're having issues with your spouse and you know there's a problem and you know that you might have contributed to the problem, but you don't want to take onus to the problem. You'd rather the other person say, "I'm sorry" first before you say, "I'm sorry." You did the thing. You was the one that took it there. It wasn't even there, but you want the other person to say they're sorry instead of you saying, "I'm sorry, babe. I didn't mean that."
Ownership is difficult a lot of times because it challenges that individual. Nobody likes to be challenged. Say, for instance, we know that if we go to the gym, we're going to be in shape, we're going to look good, this, that, and the other. Everybody wants that image. Everybody wants their relationship to be healthy, but they don't want to put the work in to get it.
They want it to look healthy.
They want it to look healthy, but don't want to put the work on it to keep healthy. So
Mm.
we'll eat a salad and then eat a burger right with it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I mean, but that's how our relationships are.
Yeah.
So taking ownership of, I know I was wrong, but
Right.
me saying I'm sorry challenges us of who we are, because we have to point the fingers at ourselves to say I was wrong. Don't nobody like to be wrong. So pride is always a big factor there.
There we go.
All right,
Yeah.
especially with men. You know what? I can't even say it. Women, forgive me, but women are just as tough as men. They
Yeah.
won't apologize. They'll look at you and be like, "Ain't they ain't do nothing wrong." All at the same time, they're hurting. It's hurting the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they're not going to get what they're looking for because of the wall that they've already thrown up.
Okay.
So it doesn't give you access, because furthermore, they don't want to talk about it for you to get an understanding, especially if they're wrong.
Mm-hmm.
All right. They don't want to, and this is anybody. So I'm taking this back from you women. Now let's open this up to everybody. Taking that ownership. Nobody wants to point them fingers and say, you know what, I did this. Because guess what? It could take more work on your part to get everything back the way it should, versus somebody accepting it for you and saying, hey, let's just sweep this under the rug.
Wow.
But if it makes you have to look at yourself, that means a change has to happen. And a lot of people don't like to change. Some folk like the way they are. Some people like that they messy. Some folk like it that they catch attitude. Some folk like to argue.
And so then the question goes to one of the questions that you had in your book was this that I thought was dope. Who or what shaped you
That's a good thing.
into the person that you are? Like doing the work. So when you talked about doing the work earlier, right? Doing the work, when I was reading the book, it had me like I felt like I was in a session, bro. Like I was talking to my counselor, right? Because it had me go back to the point of where did these traits come from? Where did this behavior come from, right? And that's a part of doing the work. That's a
Mm-hmm.
part of self evaluation that a lot of people don't like.
Right, right.
They don't like seeing their true selves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it could be difficult. This is one thing I do know. Say two people that's going to get together, and maybe thinking about marriage,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because that's a long life commitment. You come from a family of certain values, they come from a family of certain values. Maybe mom and dad stayed together in your home, and maybe mom and dad didn't stay together in that home.
Wow.
Maybe there was abuse in your home, and everything was lovey dovey in this home.
Okay.
So you see different dynamics of relationships.
Okay.
Um, Maybe you were the person that nobody ever took time with you. Nobody talked to you growing up.
Right.
So you had to learn from other experiences. So you don't know what real love is inside of a home. So that's all you know when you come in this relationship with this individual.
Okay.
And then one last point is that maybe everything was wonderful until somebody broke your heart. Maybe everything was wonderful until somebody abused you. Maybe everything was wonderful until you got cheated on.
Hmm.
So now it changes who you are, because, hey, I can't really trust that individual because I'm not sure if they're going to take me through the same thing that I went through. But guess what happens at that point? When you're not fully healed, you can never honestly love somebody fully the way it's intended,
Wow.
because you're judging them by your experience, not off of the experience that both of you are creating.
Okay.
When you do that, they don't get a chance to have the real truth, or the real, just using, for an example.
That's beautiful. That's like setting expectations or false expectations.
False expectation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That was one of the things that I shared with my wife before we got married. Or actually while we were dating, I told her, I said, I don't have any expectations.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever we create is what we create
That's
from
good.
this moment. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Because I did that in my first marriage.
Mm-hmm.
and it left both of us in a place of looking at other people and what they were creating and trying to create what they had. Whether it was their parents, whether it's your uncle, whether I don't care who it is,
Right.
but
Right.
you're pulling from other people's experiences and not your own.
Right.
So I didn't want to go into that again.
Relationship is not a cookie cutter type thing. So your blueprint is not going to work for me.
Hmm.
All right. The way you do things is not going to work for my home. You cannot use that. You have to, and this is why you have to talk to each other. This is why you have to communicate with each other, because you're actually building something brand new. Building brand new, custom made. You know how you go into some house subdivisions and you go down that whole street, every house built the exact same
Same
way,
way.
same color, the whole nine. But guess what? In every house, it's a different family with different problems, different situations,
Facts.
right? So you got people coming together. They may all look the same, but everybody gonna go through something different. I don't care what you put out there. I can tell you the same thing, but it's gonna work differently in your home
In your home,
than someone else's. You
right.
have to create what's best for you. In here, I talk about love, and I give a definition of love.
Mm-hmm.
And I talk about how that definition of love is what the two individuals create it to be. It's not what somebody else thinks it is. It's your love is totally different than somebody else's.
Mm-hmm.
What they may feel they need in love, you may not need. Your relationship may not even need. So love is not going to be the same for everybody. You got to pick out what's best for you.
Mm. You talked about something that, and listen, y'all got to pick this book up. I'm being dead serious. Y'all have to go get this book. This book is phenomenal. It's helped me see things that I wish I had, but I have it now. So I'm grateful that I have it now. But
Awesome.
one of the things that you talk about is the incubation stages, right?
Yeah.
You talk about that. Matter of fact, you gave an analogy of chickenpox, right? You said when you get chickenpox, you don't see the effects of having chickenpox when you get it. It takes, like, I think you said 14 to 16 weeks. Days, excuse me.
Yeah.
14 to 16 days before it actually shows,
Mhm.
the first bump shows up on your skin.
That's right.
And you kind of it was, you kind of jobbed it with how there are emotions in you that don't show itself for years sometimes until you're in a situation that you don't know how to handle, and something pops up and you like, dang.
Listen, I'm gonna tell you how simple it is. I'm gonna make it real simple. Outside of chickenpox, they're called entrance points.
Okay.
All right, entrance points. At what point did your love become infected? It can be as simple as you could be, an individual can be with their spouse, walking down the street and happen to open the door for another lady, but don't open the door for their own wife. That's an entrance point. All right.
For the wife or for the individual that didn't open the door?
For the individual that didn't open the door.
Okay.
So, I'm sorry, that's the entrance points for the wife.
Okay.
Because she's going to be looking at it like, wow, he doesn't even do this for me. And he's doing it for somebody else. Or say, for instance, your wife gets beautified. All right. Gets beautiful. And you won't even tell her how good she looks. She's doing this for you. And you won't even say how good she looks, but quick to say to somebody else, wow, you look nice today. All right. These are entrance points. These are the things. See, it's not always something big. It ain't got to be something big. If we take it back to the Bible says it's the little foxes that kill the vine. It's all the small things that begin to add up that destroy the vine. And these are the things that we have to pay attention to. It's
Okay.
the small things that you're not doing. Um, a man, a man that comes in and does his best for his wife to in whatever capacity, and she looks at him as he's not doing anything. A man operates off his ego, all right? And if you don't stroke that man's ego, it's problems. So here it is. He's doing the best for you, but in your home, you make it like he's nobody. But when he go to work, they think he the greatest thing that's ever happened. Entrance points. What type of entrance point is that? That's an entrance point to whereas, listen, I'm not getting this at home, but I'm getting it at work. So you wonder why he likes spending so much time at work and less time at home.
Mm.
Think now, I don't know if I'm supposed to go,
Value. That's
but
value. Yeah.
these are the things that we're not paying attention to and understanding. These are entrance points, and these things are the ones that begin to fester.
Mm-hmm.
So guess what? You're not getting it at home. So when you leave out, all these things are starting to sound good every day.
Mm-hmm.
You've had your point of pushing it away. Now it's having an effect. It's taking root.
Wow.
Is there's something that's planted there, and maybe you're not acting off of it immediately, but if things don't change, the dynamics don't change, then you leave an open door for things to
Bigger.
really blossom.
And that's the incubation stage. That's
That's the incubation stage.
not checking it at the door. Not saying, "Hey, babe, when you didn't open that door for me, I felt some kind of way about that."
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? You talked about that in the book too. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Making sure. I think that's like big boy responsible, right? Like you're so responsible, even when you're checking for uh, when things are out of bounds, right? Uh, I didn't feel right about that. Let me share with my spouse how I felt about that,
Mm-hmm.
so that they know, one, right? They know that that you feel a certain way, and two, it gives them time to correct it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because if they don't know, they don't know. They've been probably getting away with it in their last relationship,
Right. Right.
right? They just don't know
That's
what they're
true.
doing, and then sometimes you do get but what if you do get the ones that they they know that what they're doing is not right? Like they know that they're. How do you move? How do you navigate with the communication aspect of when you communicated those lines that have been crossed, and you're setting up those boundaries to say, hey, listen, I would like it if when I come home that you do acknowledge the things that I do around here,
Mm-hmm.
because at the job they feeling your boy over there. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying?
Right. Right.
Like, and she doesn't get it. She doesn't really understand.
Okay. So if somebody really loves you, all right, really love, because some everybody don't love,
Mm,
they're in a relationship, but they really don't love that individual. So they're only going to do the minimum. But when you have somebody, let's talk about somebody that really loves each other
mm-hmm,
and running into some problems,
mm-hmm,
and you've communicated with them to ask them, to do this, to do that. One thing I learned about relationships is everybody don't understand on the same level that you understand. Married to my wife, I I was on my third marriage. She had never been married before, right? So I had a different understanding than what she had. So I would explain things to her, and she wasn't able to catch on a lot of what I was saying,
wow,
right? Um, I thought because of our age, she was already supposed to know this, but she never experienced it before. She's never lived with a man, in her home or anything like that.
right,
She was on her own. She was independent. Her understanding was totally different. That took patience. A lot of us ain't got no patience. I'm telling you. Now, don't get me wrong. In having patience, sometimes it's going to hurt to have patience because when someone doesn't understand everything, unknowingly they can hurt you.
mm,
It's not that they want to hurt you, but unknowingly they can hurt you.
okay,
Okay. And if you don't take time to communicate, Through those things, man, I've talked to my wife has talked to me too, probably 10 times throughout the course of our marriage about the same issue. And sometimes things don't click immediately. Sometimes you got to show different dynamics of it. Okay, well, if they don't catch it this way, explain it a different way. It takes patience.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this can't be something that's causing detriment to the marriage.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? What I
Yeah.
mean by that is causing. You can't be
Infidelity.
going out infidelity. You know,
Yeah.
it can't be none of that. You know,
Right.
you cheating over and over again. That's a problem.
Right.
You know,
Right.
somebody getting ready to get divorced. You know,
Exactly.
but you know, I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because that's abuse.
Right.
All right, that's abuse times 10. All right, they can't care about you. Anybody that's telling you that I love you and they keep cheating, no, they don't love you.
Mm.
All right, they really don't. I don't care how you look at it. I don't care what they say. So you have to be when you're in a relationship, you gotta be patient though, because you're not gonna get it all the time. You're not gonna get it all the time. Think, for instance, me. I look at how many times my wife say to me, "Babe, you know, um, you gotta let me talk sometimes."
My wife say the same thing.
Right? You gotta let me talk sometimes. Man, do you not know that was the hardest thing? It's not that I didn't want to hear her. I'm a man and she has a need. I want to fix that joint as quick as possible.
So I don't
Right?
have to hear him out.
Huh? Oh, yeah. Okay. Don't get me in trouble, man.
Okay.
Right. But I want to fix that as soon as possible
Right.
because I love her.
Right.
And by me being her man, to me, I want to be her superhero.
Okay.
So I realized what happened is that I had to take time to really listen.
Mm.
So I'm hearing her the whole time. But the reason why it's taken me so many times to get it right is because I'm not effectively listening to her.
Mm.
When you effectively listen to her, you dissect what it is that she's saying.
Okay.
You get a clear understanding without trying to interject before you hear the whole story.
Mm.
Interject before you hear exactly what she's saying. And then if you don't understand clearly, you don't have to agree all the time, but you do have to have an understanding.
Okay.
And see what you can do to come up with a solution. And then furthermore, sometimes I just learn how to listen without saying anything. Because she's told me that so many times. Can you just listen to me? I don't need you to try to fix it. That's an art.
No.
Man,
No, that is an
but
art.
but
That's an
I've
art.
learned I'm to me, every time you're gonna get better. Because one thing I've learned also is that my wife is constantly evolving. Women, men, you're constantly changing. So what went 2 years ago is totally different than what goes now.
Mm-hmm.
She may view something differently now. Maturity, a level of maturity, whether it's of age or anything like that, of understanding, it doesn't make a difference. You have to be able to take the time out to understand where she's at and listen to her.
Oftentimes, I think we listen to judge and we don't listen to hear what the individual is actually truly saying. There's times I've had conversations with God that I just didn't understand. Um, I didn't see what his will was, but he listened.
Yeah, yeah,
He
he did.
listened. He
That's
did
true.
listen. You know
That's
what I'm
true.
saying? He still told me what I needed to do, but he listened.
That's true. I
um,
agree.
and in the book, you talked about getting real, right?
Mm-hmm.
You said, and I quote, symptoms will show up, but your mission should be getting real about where you are, not sugarcoating it. You know what I'm saying? Once you're doing the work on you, because this is all about you, right? This book is all about the person that's reading it, not about the individual. So you're getting
Yeah.
real about you. I want you to explain, or if you can elaborate, a moment of you getting real with yourself.
All right. So getting real. Um, the first stage is the incubation stage. 4 stages to infection that I talk about.
Okay.
This next stage is the prodromal stage.
Okay.
This is where the signs of your infection actually start to show up.
Okay.
Um, of why, what's causing what you went through to now happen.
Okay.
So I had to pray in this relationship concerning my wife. Before I married her, I said, God, change me. I'm going to this part here. God, change me because I don't want to treat her the way I treated the individual that I was with. And don't get me wrong, I was a good man, a gentleman. I wasn't violent, but I dealt with anger. All right.
Okay.
I dealt with anger. And by me dealing with anger, I was very, you know, short.
Okay.
So conversations with me, there wasn't, I could talk, but the communication wasn't going to go as well because before we're done talking, I'll be done, got up, say, I'm done. Walk out the house, get in my car, and leave.
Okay.
I'm coming back, right?
Right.
But I would leave. These are all unhealthy things. And I was like, God, I don't want to take anger into this relationship because it doesn't help anything. It allows other things to manifest. It allows other things to start in you that normally wouldn't be there.
Mm.
So with my wife in the beginning stages, I don't go through that at all now. But in the beginnings of my marriage, there was times I would be like, you know what? I can't take this. And I would go for a ride. I would go get on my motorcycle. I would take my motorcycle for a ride. I would get in my car, take my car for go on a walk. I would just leave. I don't even do that anymore. There's no rides.
Mm.
We communicate. But I had to do that because if you if you allow things to fester in you and you're always leaving, you're gonna find what you're looking for one of these times.
Say that.
All right.
Say that.
You're gonna find what you're looking for one of these times. So I don't do that. I don't leave the house. I talk to my wife. If I need to go upstairs to, in my office, I go upstairs in my office, not because I'm mad. I can go upstairs in my office, look at basketball, work on some projects that I may have. But hitting that level,
Mm.
no. Because I realized if that shows up, it can mess up my marriage. So you have to know you.
And that's getting real.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because things are going to show up. Things are going to show up with you.
Mm-hmm.
Parts about you that you don't even like will show up.
Mm.
Why am I struggling with this now? I thought I was over this. Why is this up in my face again? I thought I was done with this.
Right.
If you don't be real with yourself, when those signs show up, you will open up your relationship for disaster.
Wow.
All right. So that's why it's important. When you see the signs of things, you don't always notice when they come in, but when they start showing the signs, you don't want to be bothered. You don't want to you'd rather go and talk to somebody else than the person that you're with. You would rather go hear somebody else's voice because every time you listen to this one, it's making you upset. Or you're finding, I don't care, even if it don't have to be another individual, but it could be maybe you go get a drink every time you get mad. Maybe you want to smoke every time you get mad. Maybe you want to get high every time you get mad.
Mm-hmm.
These things are going to eventually cause a problem because it's replacing the individual that you're with. So where you're supposed to communicate
and deal with the
Yeah.
situation you don't want to deal with.
You're not going to deal with it.
You find another.
Right.
Yeah.
So people's relationships begin to break up. Prodromal.
Prodromal.
Get real with yourself. You got to pay attention to the signs. When you see them, talk about it. Talk about it. You can't just ignore it.
And some of the signs you talked about were: are you being distant? Do you have problems with your anger? You just talked about that.
Mhm.
Insensitive. um, uninterested in sex, cold-hearted, short-tempered. You actually said in the book, and you have like after every chapter, like a work session that you can kind of go through to see where you are, see what knowledge you've gained through the book, identify some of the things or characteristics that you're dealing with in your heart, and you ask them to write out the symptoms, identify the root causes of the infection um, that needs to be addressed. I thought that was, like I said to myself, I felt like I was in a session with my counselor because when I'm in a session with my counselor, these are the things that I have to do. I have to write,
Hmm.
you know what I'm saying, identify certain
Yeah.
traits that I have.
Hmm.
Um, and listen, guys, go get this book, man. I'm serious, man. Like,
Please.
it's really helping me. You know what I'm saying? I'm a newlywed, um, a little over a year now. Yeah, this is the book right here, Infected Love, y'all. All right.
And it has a
Actually,
different book cover though now. Yeah.
not the original cover there, but the new cover of the book.
Yes.
That's it right there. Infected Love. Y'all got to go get this, okay? All right. I'm telling you, it's gonna help and support your relationships, not just your marriages, but your friendships as well, too, guys. Because
Yes.
sometimes we don't know why we're moving through friends and associates or people who we currently dealing with. We're losing relationships, and I don't think that God intended for us to walk this life by ourselves. Listen, my last question in chapter 5 was not even a question, it's more of a statement. In chapter 5, you talk about how it is possible to survive. This wasn't even the end of the book, but for me, it gave me so much hope, right?
Hmm.
Because you're telling us, hey, it doesn't matter what you're going through. You know what I'm saying? If you follow these simple truths that I'm giving you, simple outlines to look at where you are, it is, and you're taking on the assignment and you're being real about yourself and about your circumstances and what you're going through, it is possible for you to survive this. You don't have to be alone.
No, you don't have to.
When symptoms show up, you said move immediately towards them. Resolving any issues early is the prevention against all failed relationships.
Yes. Yes. You have to. The problem comes in is because we ignore what we're supposed to do. We think it's going to fix itself, or we don't want to put the time in for it. There are certain things that can happen so drastic in your life. I was in uh, Illinois doing insurance, and there was this lady there um, that I noticed Bills gear in the hotel that I was staying in. I was like, who's a Buffalo Bills fan? And they went and got her when she came. She runs the entire place. And she was talking to me, took me back to her office, and she pulled out Buffalo Bills gear from everywhere. Boxes of gear, jerseys hanging all on her wall from years ago. I said, how did you end up being a Buffalo Bills fan like this? And you're in Illinois. She says, I used to go to all the games, all NFL games. She said, I've been to every stadium in the country for football.
Wow.
She says, but I went to a Buffalo Bills game. After the game, I was sitting in traffic, and she says a drunk driver came and hit her so hard from behind. She says she got up, got out the car and was walking around, and they were saying, hey, do you want to go to the hospital? She says, no, I was fine. She said, I told him no. She says, I got up, went to work the next day.
Hmm.
She said, my car was totaled. She says, I went to work the next day, but when I got to work, I couldn't make it through the day because I was sick. She said they had to call an ambulance to come and get me.
I already know where you're going.
All right.
Yeah.
Some stuff can happen to you in your life. It's like a whiplash.
That's in the book.
That's in the book.
Yeah.
You won't know what hit you, but this is what tripped me out. She says, I'm getting ready to go have surgery again. I said, okay. I said, man, but this happened so long ago. She said, this is my 78th surgery.
Oh my God.
78th. She says, I was supposed to have died. She says, I gave up on life. She says, because I was in so much pain. She said, the doctor says that I'm in so much pain in my life that my life, I suppose she was 47 years old. She says, I should be dead by the time I'm 58 because her heart is going to explode because it beats so hard from the pain that she goes through. She said, the medicine, nothing works for her. She said she used to just lie in the bed until she bought a dog because she knew that she has to take him out. This is my question to you. What is it that has caused you so much pain that it has altered your entire life? She can't even go to an NFL game. She tried to go back to the Buffalo Bills game, and she says she went crazy. Her friends had to take her out of there because it triggered something in her. She had to learn how to write again. She had to learn how to feed herself, learn how to walk. Some of us are in so much pain until we're not ourselves anymore. I wonder what kind of pain that you are in from relationships, from hurt, that has devastated you to the point to whereas you're not who you used to be. You can't even enjoy life like you used to enjoy it. There are so many people, they're walking around, they're talking, but they can't even function the way they're not smiling anymore. They're not enjoying, they're not going out anymore. They're scared to be in a relationship now because they have suffered so much trauma from whatever it is that they've experienced. We have to make sure that we do not allow ourselves to get to that point. There are some things that's going to happen that you can't do anything about. She never saw that coming. It wasn't that she was doing anything wrong, right? You will be in a marriage and you didn't do anything wrong, happiest days of your life, and then all of a sudden they're cheating, or all of a sudden they want something different. What are you going to do about that? How are you going to handle that? Devastation happens. It's real life, y'all.
Yeah.
Pain happens. It's real life. But what are you going to do when it happens to you? How are you going to handle it? That's my thing.
Okay.
All right. You can get through it. You can get past it. But sometimes it's going to take you fighting for what it is that you desire. You got to want to live. Pain can hurt so bad until you want to give up on life. Don't allow hurt, don't allow pain to rob you of what your life should be about. You got to find a way to navigate through it. You got to face the fears. You got to take time and go through whatever it is that you got to go through. But go through that process.
Can you give me one specific event that happened that altered a situation in your life where you said, "Dang, if I had did something different, if I had chose differently, this wouldn't have happened like this."
Yeah. Yeah. There are some things that can happen in your life, and I look at them like this. In that 5th chapter, it's called silent wounds. And the silent wounds are the ones that, yeah, something happened to you, but can't nobody see it. It didn't show up. And if you don't deal with those things, it causes so many problems in your relationship. So you got to remember, I have been married twice, now 3 times. So there were things that happened. I was a young man just trying to do right, a young man trying to be right for the church, for society, for whomever, but not paying attention to what transpired during those relationships to make sure that I was completely healed. So I was suffering in silence, but still trying to look like a man in front of everybody else's face. I was making decisions based off of who I am as a man, but never getting any clear understanding of what I should be doing. As a man, I'm going to talk from this perspective. Just because you're a man doesn't mean that you get a chance to go through life without getting real answers. Just because you're a man does not mean that you can navigate through this life without facing up to your real emotions.
Mm.
I went through real trauma
Okay.
in relationships.
Okay.
But I didn't know who could I talk to. There was times I had to cry, but I couldn't let nobody see me cry. So if I was going to do something over again, I would be completely honest with me.
Mm.
If you don't be honest with yourself, healing can't take place. So although I'm suffering, although I'm crying, although I'm hurt, in everybody's eyes, I got to look like nothing happened. Nothing fazed me. And I had to carry those scars. Those are silent wounds. Those are things that, hey, don't nobody know this about me. Don't nobody understand this about me. Listen, y'all, I'm telling you, get the book. Infected Love, Identifying and Eliminating Toxic Relationship Killers. I make a lot of points in there, and I would love for you to really experience what's really happening.
And get healing. Because this is what it's going to do. It's going to heal you. It's going to heal your relationships. It's the process of moving into healing.
Yes.
You want healing, right? I know I do.
That's right.
And Pastor Brinson, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for allowing the Lord to use you to write this beautiful book. Thank you for being on the Taste of Truth.
I appreciate it.
I appreciate you coming by, showing love to our people. I want to tell y'all again to go get this book. It is on
It's an Amazon.
Amazon?
Yes.
Go to Amazon. Y'all can order it on Amazon right now. Go order it right now, please. I want y'all to give it up again for Pastor Dion.
Thank you. Thank you.
And that's all we got for y'all today on the Taste of Truth, man. We out.